conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer. White House Custom Color is a premier professional photography and press printing lab serving photographers around the globe. Be sure to check us out at WHCC.com. Latasha Haynes of Ike and Tash fame found herself fighting for her life in early 2017. We sat down to talk about what happened and how the terrifying experience changed her. And so I know that you got sick.
Yeah.
Essentially. Is that
really
how you put it?
Yeah. I had the flu.
Mm-hmm.
I had not been feeling well. Like with what I thought was a cold, but it was just kind of hanging on. And sometimes, honestly, I feel like that could be happening now, but it's like allergies. So it was kind of like one of those things where you're like waking up and you're like coughing and you've got like phlegm and you can't figure it out.
Right.
But this like was for 3 weeks. Like I could not, but the time had passed and I was so busy that I didn't realize like the duration of time that had passed.
It becomes normalized
right,
too,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So we had just come back from WPPI in Vegas. This was 2017.
This was last year, right?
This was last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of like hop from glory to glory. So it's like one big thing to the next big thing.
Right.
And so we'd done WPPI and we had all these photographers flying into our hometown for our very first workshop post Blink because we had stopped doing our own individual teaching.
Right.
And so I was sick, but I could not be sick. There was not really time for that. So I wasn't really paying attention.
Sure.
And I remember the women had come in and I was just like, I'm not feeling really well. I don't really have a voice. Like it had gotten to that point. And I was like, but we got to get through this. So I just kind of did my best and I was like really low key, but it was a struggle. And I remember that. And then they left and it was like a couple days had passed and then I stopped kind of eating.
You stopped
eating?
I
stopped eating. I didn't have like an appetite. And I don't know, like, as I'm like playing this back now, I'm like, come on, Tash, these are like warning signs of like something that's not going well. But like, I'm just like, oh no, I'm just tired. Like when we get busy and tired, we just don't.
Man, when you're busy, things are different.
You're not taking care of yourself. I mean, I haven't eaten yet today.
Neither have I. That's interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
The brain
like, we're
is
busy.
different when you're busy.
It's true. So I just did not like pay attention to that. So it's Saturday. I'm not hungry. I haven't really eaten. I'm still feeling like awful, but I've got to show up because people need me and there's not really time for me to be concerned about myself. The next day it's Sunday and I have like a lot going on still and I still haven't eaten, but I'm like now exhausted.
I mean, you went through a day and you didn't eat?
No, I hadn't eaten. I didn't eat.
I don't know if that's ever happened.
I don't know. Women are different.
That's true.
Men, you guys got to eat. You don't care what you eat.
I can't even fathom it.
Ike eats my food and his. So,
so do I.
Exactly.
So you went through the day. You didn't eat. You get to Sunday. You're still super busy.
Still super busy, but no energy. I sleep the whole day. Wake up to do this big event that I have for my girls. Ike's like, you need to cancel this event. I'm like, there's no way I'm canceling this event. I show up to it. It's like a panel, women in our community talking to young girls and answering questions. And my friends are like, you don't look very good.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't feel good, but like, I'm fine, and I'm like sweating at this point and just really in denial that like something is wrong. And so I do this event, I come home, I crash. The next morning I wake up, which is Monday, and I can't move my body. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like what's happening? So here, a little background, like I grew up with rheumatoid juvenile arthritis.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, excuse me.
Right.
And so I have not had any issues in my adult life.
But you know what it's like to have those issues. But I know what it's like,
exactly. Yeah. So the last time I had like a flare-up, I was 16 years old. Mm-hmm. So 2017, I'm 34 when this is happening. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, this is like really strange, but I recognize these feelings of like my body feeling completely like in pain, whatever. So I'm looking at Ike because we're supposed to fly to Reset Conference, which is here in Indiana, in like 3 days.
You just had it piled on.
I'm trying to tell you, I don't know. This is
all right after WPPI.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, hey, something's not right. We have to fly soon. I didn't have insurance, so I couldn't go to the doctor. I didn't have a doctor to call. And so I was like, let's go to urgent care.
Yeah, urgent.
Because
Right.
if something is wrong, like I'll have a day to figure it out. We'll get
Right.
some medicine and then I can get on this plane so we can go open this conference. And he was like, okay, let's go. So we go to the emergency room and they give me like anti-inflammatories and not even antibiotics. I don't remember, like fluids, because I hadn't eaten still.
Right.
Still have not eaten.
Right.
Okay. And then I come home and I'm feeling really good. And Tuesday comes and I'm tired, but I'm kind of hanging in there. I go to take a shower and I black out.
You blacked out in the shower?
I blacked out in the shower. And
And you were feeling good.
and I was feeling tired.
Right.
But better than I had felt the last couple days prior to that.
And you black out
and I black out in the shower, and my family comes to get me out of the shower, and I lay down and I call my cousin who's a doctor, and I'm like, I think I might have meningitis. Like, I'm now making up stuff because
you don't know.
Because I don't know.
Right.
And like, I've never blacked out and weird stuff. And she's just like, take it easy, chill. At this point, I'm kind of getting scared. And so then we go to the emergency room like later that night.
You went.
Yeah. Go to the emergency room because the next day we're leaving to go to reset because it's Tuesday. Right. Go to the emergency room. They give me more of kind of the same thing, that urgent care. No, when I went to urgent care, they told me that I had a viral infection, but they did not give me fluids or anything. So sorry, I'm just kind of remembering the details. No, because it was supposed to pass on its own, and they didn't know what kind of like viral infection I had, so they were just kind of like, lots of fluids, blah blah blah,
rest, right.
And then when I went to the emergency room, that's when they gave me
when you had the fluid,
the inflammatories and the fluids. So then I come home again and I'm feeling a lot. So now I've gone to the doctor twice, and it's kind of just been like, we don't know what's wrong. Like, we see that there's inflammation, we see that like you need fluids, but there's not really anything that's like indicating that there's a problem besides like maybe some kind of virus. And you need to let it pass. And so Wednesday morning I wake up and I'm taking it really easy and I'm like packing and stuff, and Ike is going to get a haircut. And when he comes back, I'm like, I went to go take a nap. I come downstairs. I reach into the cabinet to try to get something to eat because I have not eaten since Saturday. It's Wednesday. Not really. Maybe I've drank some things or had a few bites of stuff.
Maybe it's time.
Yeah, like I'm going to try to like eat something.
That might be a good idea.
And I reach into the cabinet and I feel my body seize up on me. And it was like, it's hard to describe, but like the pain was from my back and it came around to the front of my body. And everything I did hurt. Like, I could not catch my breath. I could not breathe. And I was in a pain that I can't like describe. But it wasn't my heart. It was just my chest. It was my back. It was everything. Like, I just felt like I couldn't move. So I had my cousins, because we have a lot of people that live with us because we're crazy. And we love people. We want to see them do well. So we try to help people out.
Yeah.
But they move me to the couch and I sit down, and that is terrible and hurts. I can't sit down. So I immediately bounce back up.
It hurts to sit.
It hurts to sit. So I stand, and then I try to lay down. I can't lay down. Ike walks in. He goes, "Are you ready to go to the airport?" I was like, because it's time to go.
Right.
We're going to reset, right?
He got home. He's ready. He's ready to go.
And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm not getting on an airplane. And he said, okay. And so I had my atlas out of place the week before. So we went straight to the chiropractor to see.
Now what's the atlas part?
Atlas is like the bottom of the top of your, like where your spine and
your C vertebrae?
Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
And when that thing gets out of place, it feels like your whole life is falling apart. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that that's what was going on because it didn't feel like heart stuff. Like I would have never known that. And when I went, my chiropractor and I are pretty close. He was just like, this is not a skeletal thing. I think that you should go to the emergency room, because he saw that I was struggling to breathe.
Right.
And so we get to the emergency room. We're there for 5 hours before we know what's going on.
Yeah,
and
I know what that's like.
I was just so scared. And I called friends and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I know something's wrong.
Because were you getting worse at the...
Yeah. Like just
yeah.
can't breathe. Like
right.
It was so rough. And I just was in so much pain. And they come back. We go to the emergency room. We get there about 5:30 p.m. And they come back at like 8:30, maybe 9.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, we don't know what's wrong, but we know there's something going on with your heart. And so we're going to admit you.
With your heart.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, my heart? And they were like, yeah, your heart is not, something's not right. They couldn't really communicate it to me.
Right.
So I get admitted into the hospital. The first 24 hours, I was pretty aware of what was going on, but I actually started to get worse and decline. And then the basically from March 1st, which was the day I was admitted, to March 6th, I don't really remember much. I was like,
you were there.
I was in critical care, fighting for my life. And basically what had happened was my heart, the flu got into my heart. And I had pneumonia at the same time, which is why I couldn't breathe.
Yes.
And I had so much fluid in my lungs that I could not get air. And the flu got into my heart and it caused inflammation around my heart and inflammation in my heart. And so I had all of this pain because my heart could not really fit in the casing.
Right.
And so I had myocarditis, pericarditis, and pneumonia at the same time. And they could not figure out, it took them a while to actually figure out that diagnosis. At that time, they didn't know. They didn't know until like March 11th what was going on.
Unbelievable.
But I like started to decline, and my heart that night was beating 227 beats per minute, but my blood pressure had dropped to like 70 over like 50 something. So it was working so hard, but I didn't have enough blood. Like I wasn't pumping enough blood throughout my body.
Even though it was beating so fast.
And I had internal bleeding, which we still have not figured out to this day where that came from. Yeah. But I was losing blood. So I had to have 3 blood transfusions.
All of this at the same time.
Yep. In a matter of the first 6 days. I was in the hospital for 16 days. And the first 6 days I was in like intensive care.
Were the first 6 days kind of touch and go too? Like you didn't.
Yeah, they came to Ike and I and they talked to us about preparing like a will.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And they told him that my heart would probably give out if they couldn't slow it down because it was beating too fast.
Right. Well, at some point, sure.
Yeah. And so they talked to him about airlifting me to Harborview if it came to that and putting me on the donor list.
Oh my goodness.
So it was pretty serious.
Was he had to just be freaking out?
I don't know. Ike is really weird. Like there was I'm
freaking out right now.
Of course he was freaking out, but he's so strange because he doesn't like show his emotions.
He can freak out calmly. He can calmly
and so
freak
the
out.
only like sign that I had that Ike was like really struggling through it was like he would not stop eating.
Oh, that resonates.
Yeah, like he just was eating everything. He's eating all the hospital food, all the food that people brought in. Like he just, every time I looked at him, he was putting something in his mouth. And we laugh about it now, but he was always eating. He'd always make, I wish that this was like a video podcast so people could see my face, but he makes these like crazy faces. And I'd be like, bro, you're eating again? Like I did not eat for 13 days. So I'm like, bro, like you're eating for all of us. Yeah, I lost 43 pounds.
And he gained 43 pounds.
Yeah, I think he did. He gained all of it.
Did you really lose that much weight?
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not all while I was in the hospital. I probably lost like 27 of it, but as a result, yeah. And so when I came out of the hospital, I was out of the hospital for a few days, and then I had this allergic reaction to the medicine, so I had to go back to the hospital. I was there for an additional 3 days. And then I came out again, and then the reactive arthritis set in.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. And so I'm like, okay, I'm out of the hospital, and now we're just dealing with this heart thing. And then 2 weeks later, the arthritis set in. And so I wasn't able to walk. I didn't walk from March until probably June.
What?
Mm-hmm. Like Ike had to like carry me everywhere. I couldn't use my hands. My arthritis would move. So it started out in my arms. Like I wasn't able to use my arms for a long time. And then it moved to my legs, and it was like really heavy in my knees. And so, arthritis is an interesting thing because mostly like old people have it.
Yeah.
So getting an appointment with a rheumatologist was very tough. And so I had to wait until July to see a rheumatologist. And so I had to kind of go through that pain from March until then.
And you were starting to walk by then.
I didn't walk.
Oh, you didn't walk by then still?
Not really. He would like carry me. I couldn't walk without assistance.
How did you come out of it? Like what?
I was on steroids.
They put you on steroids.
I was on steroids. And it's tough because you really can only be on steroids for like 2 weeks before it really starts to do like real bad damage to your body. but the steroids were the only things that made it capable or possible for me to like do anything. And so I would just like beg for them because I'd be in so much pain and I couldn't be productive. And I remember we went to Palm Springs for my birthday, which was in May, and I had to be like wheeled through the airport and they'd have to like carry me up and down the stairs. It was really bad. On Instagram, the pictures looked amazing, but
they always do, right?
Yeah, right. But my real life was like a hot ass mess.
You were a mess.
I was a mess. So July, I see the rheumatologist. We start putting a plan together. I don't think I was like 100% pain free until like December of last year.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially 2017
was a nightmare.
Was a mess for you.
Yeah. And they found a tumor in my right hand and my ring finger in December. So I had to have surgery on my hand and I couldn't use my right hand for 3 months. I couldn't pick up a camera because I'm right-handed.
They found a tumor in your hand.
Because they were checking my joints for arthritis. And
what happened in 2017?
I don't know. Somebody hated me.
You just want to delete that year?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I
so
don't.
Here we go.
Yes, I don't, because 2017 taught me what mattered to me and what was important to me. And it's not often that we really like get to come face to face with our life and the how we live it and the choices that we make. And like, we don't get to like assess, like, is this worth it? Right? We're like told that we need to do certain things or achieve certain things. And there's not like this defining moment for us that makes us stop and go, wait a minute, like, what am I doing this for? Is this really worth it? And 2017 was that moment for me. And I am really thankful because I feel like I got a gift out of it that most people don't get to get. Like, I got a chance to like face death, as scary as that might be, and go, does this matter? Is this worth it? Is this how I want to spend my time on this earth? And the freedom and the fearlessness to make the changes to do those things.
Do you think that before 2017, because it sounds like it, so I'm making an inference here, do you think that you were so busy and so caught up in your business and the lives that you and Ike were constructing and the things that you were doing that it required something
100%
as traumatic as 2017 to pull you out of it? Like, if you would have just gotten the flu for a couple of weeks, you would have recovered and you probably would have went right back at it.
I think that I was so consumed with what Ike and I have built that I didn't know who I was anymore. And that I had become Ike and Tash. Everything was Ike and Tash. Our marriage was Ike and Tash. Yeah. Like, I was Ike and Tash.
It's like you had become your brand.
Yeah, that was it. Like, I couldn't even, these were things that I explored last year. Like, when people would be like, what's next? Or what makes you happy? I couldn't answer those questions because I didn't really know. I had spent that was our 7th year, which I think is really interesting as well. Like, if you're a believer, like if you believe in numbers and completion and blah, 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 whatever. But I lost myself in our business and I was not happy. And I forgot why I had started in the first place. And I allowed other people's ideas of success and like the expectations that have been set for us by our industry or by I had allowed all of that to overshadow like the reasons why I had started and the things that like actually give me life and fill me up. Like, I couldn't even recognize those things anymore.
So you don't think, did you get to the point where you weren't even self-aware?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've spent the last, I would say 7 months or so, like kind of just being like responsibly, healthily not caring about things so that I can figure out what works for me and what makes me happy. And I always say that I feel like being selfish is a really great gift because being selfish allows you to fill yourself up so that you can be selfless for others. Like, if I don't know what makes me happy and if I can't selfishly seek those things out, like, I can't really serve you or serve the community or be a great speaker or be a great photographer because what am I pouring out of? Like, nothing. And I feel like I got to that point. I mean, I could not even recognize that I was sick, and I was sick for a long time. I was sick for 21 days before I went to the hospital.
Right. And then you were in the hospital for 16 days and then you didn't walk for 4 months.
Right. Like what, huh? Like for what? And like, forget about like that stuff. But when your body takes like such a major hit like that, it messes up everything. So I've spent the last year like getting my levels back up, like getting my blood healthy again, like all of these things that it was one thing that happened, but it caused all of these other things too. And if I would have just paid attention or taken care of myself, I could have avoided all of that. I'm thankful I didn't, because I feel like my story has helped so many other people like make different decisions, especially since I was mostly healthy before. And it's changed my life for the better, but it sucks that it takes that.
Well, what happened during that? Like, what happened to your business and your relationships as a result of, like, how did that change, or what happened?
You know, what I am thankful for is that Ike and I have always really valued our relationships, and we've never allowed anything that we've accomplished to get in the way of those things. And so if it were not for our community and just the relationships that we would not have survived 2017. I mean, when I got sick, I remember one of my friends jumped in and she started the caring fund, because we didn't have insurance when I went to the hospital.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, it was super scary.
Because it's not cheap.
No, when I came out of the hospital, we were like somewhere around $2 million.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just casual.
Couple mil.
No big deal, because of all the testing, because of all the doctors who came in, like every doctor that comes in.
$98 for an Advil.
Like seriously, like, and every doctor that comes in, like they are billed separately.
Yeah.
So any test that they run, and I felt like I was back in like the Tuskegee Airmen days, like everybody was like testing me, and like, cause no one knew what was going on. And so it was just like, there was every test in the book was being run, and I'm just seeing the dollar signs go up. I remember at one point I was like, I can't do all of this. We don't have insurance. We're not going to be able to afford this. But,
so seriously, how do you take care of a $2 million bill?
God is good. He took care of it.
Is that right?
Yes.
Like that much came in and it was taken care of.
No, $2 million was not what was brought in, but I chose a specific hospital because I knew that they had scholarships and things in place and financial aid, and so I chose to go to that hospital knowing that we didn't have insurance, and they have people in place that advocate and help. And we met this woman who I feel is like an earth angel, and she took care of us.
That's
and
awesome.
Got us insurance and backdated it, so we ended up owing. They actually paid us back.
Oh, because that would be terrifying to me after the whole thing, to be like, well, now
so
what?
Scary. But the GoFundMe raised like $35,000.
Oh my goodness!
In like 2 days, and Ike and I lived off of that money last year. In fact, I was filling out my student loans recently, and they asked for a W-2. Yeah. And I looked at it. We made $4,000 last year. And I was what?
You weren't in very good shape to do anything. No, I wasn't.
But like, that just reminded me just the value of community and like being kind to people and building relationships, because I don't think we bought groceries for like 3 months. Yep. We would open the door and there was food there for us, and people would come and pick up wisdom, and like we were well taken care of. Like people rallied around us. And so
Wisdom's your baby.
That's my daughter. Yeah. 5 years old.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's how we made it. We made it because of people like you. I mean, there are people that might be listening to this that may have seen our story and that may have donated to our family. And that is how we survived that season of life. And
so now on a day-to-day, what does your life look like that's different as a result?
Okay, so when I was in the hospital and like sitting on the bed, I was thinking about all of the things that when I thought I was going to die, which I never really thought I was going to die, not like deep down inside. You didn't? No, I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think I ever like really accepted that, even though everything like pointed to that.
You didn't have time for that either.
Yeah, I didn't. I was too busy. thinking about what was next.
I don't have time to die.
No, I just in my spirit did not feel like this is not how my life is going to end. Like I just cannot believe that this is how it's going to go down, you know? But I was just like, oh my gosh, like there were so many things I wanted to do. Like I wanted to like have plants on my porch. Like why didn't I ever put those plants on my porch? Or I thought about like really simple things like that. And then I was just like, why do I care so much about what people think? Like none of those people are even here. Like none of those people even know that I'm sick. Like, why do I put so much energy into trying to impress people or trying to, like, I just thought through so many things. Like, here I am in the hospital and I've spent a year, so many years, like so many hours on Instagram trying to make the perfect post, and none of those people who comment are right here, right now. In the roughest moment of my life.
I saw a video yesterday, a Tracy Ullman video, where she is in her deathbed and her kids are sitting there, and she said, "I just have one regret." And they said, "What is it?" And she said, "I should have taken more pictures of my lunch and posted it on Instagram."
Right, exactly, right? Seriously. So that's kind of where I was. Or I was just like, okay, so one of the things that I thought about was all of my friends who are like, let's go get a smoothie. This is like so dumb, but this was like a really defining moment for me. I hate smoothies. And I've never had the heart to like really tell anyone, because it's kind of like a thing, right? Like smoothie bowls and like acai bowls.
Who hates smoothies?
Oh my God, I'm so over them. Like, I was like, I'm never going to have another smoothie again in my life. I have not had a smoothie since the hospital. But it was just like, there are all these things that I've been doing.
I'm not going to have smoothies anymore.
No, no more smoothies.
It's interesting because these they may seem like little trivial things, but they mean something so much more.
Right. Well, it's just like, why are we doing the things that we do? Mm-hmm. And so I told myself, and I like kind of told God, like, if I make it through this, I am not going to do things that I don't want to do anymore. I'm just not. Like, for what? That does not benefit me, and it doesn't benefit anyone else if I'm miserable doing them. And I am going to not wait to do the things that I want to do. Like, what am I waiting for? Like, we don't know how much time we have. Like, we really don't. And so I just want to live a life that I'm proud of and that feels good. And not everything is going to feel good all the time, but I feel like we can get close to it. And so I feel like I am put on this earth to help other people and to bless other people and to enjoy my life. And that's what I wanted to do. And so when I came out of the hospital, that's what I started doing. And I stopped caring about things that really don't matter. And I started doing a whole lot more that did. And like some of the things that I like kind of thought about when I was in the hospital was that I wasn't spending enough time with wisdom, and I hadn't spent enough time really investing in my family. I did when it like had to do with Ike and Tash, but not like in a real way. And I love my girls, like all the girls that Ike and I have had like the pleasure of doing, I guess, ministry work with, like by default through our business, our street team. And I wanted to be able to spend more like actual genuine time. I don't think it's by chance that we have all of these young people who love us. And I wanted to be able to really speak into those lives and really make an impact, not because they're a part of our business, but because they're young people who matter and who need that. And I just thought about my friendships and how I wanted them to be deeper, and I wanted to be more intentional about paying attention to my friends, and not even the things that they're saying, but the things they're not saying, and checking in. And like, cause those were the things that mattered. Like the relationship things were the things that I thought about. I did not think about my Instagram following or the fact that like I have spoken all over the country and these people, like I was not thinking about any of that. It did not matter to me at all. And I am honored by like the influence that we have. And I think that it's important. I think it's important for people to hear our stories. And I think it's really amazing that Ike and I have influence, but
you're a lot more than that.
Yeah. And I just don't want to be defined by those things. And so I was talking to someone last week, and I was just like, they were like, introduce yourself. And I decided I would not introduce myself by my achievements anymore. The things that I've done and accomplished, because that's not who I am. And I think that we mix those two things up. Like who we are versus what we've done.
Yeah, they get conflated.
Yeah, and I had to become what I've done and not who I really am. And I couldn't even answer who I was because I didn't really know. And
Is that right?
Well, no, I had forgotten. Like I've become all of these things, like all of these things that we're supposed to be if we're going to be a creative in this industry.
So who are you?
Who am I? I am a person who deeply cares about people. Yeah. And who wants to really honestly like sell my life out for like serving people and honoring God, like with my gifts. And I love to make people happy. I love to be happy. I just want to like take in life's experiences, and some of those things I'm still figuring out. Like I am in the process of figuring out like who I am and what matters to me. But I know who I'm not, and I'm not a speaker. I am a speaker, but I'm not defined by that.
Yeah.
And I am a photographer, but I'm not defined by that. Like I'm so much more than those things.
Yep.
And
I can see that 2017 was a gift for you.
Yeah, it really was. Like I'm so free, like freer than I've ever been. And what it also taught me was that it's okay. Like we can stop, and the people who are connected to us and who respect us and who love us will be there for us when we come back. And I've seen that. Like I got off social media for 1.5 years. When I came back, my people were there and they were excited to hear from me. And I think that when you work hard and you care about people, like people will give you the space to do what you need to do, and they'll be there for you when you come back. Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that we believe that people are thinking things and they're thinking things about us that they aren't. And I think we have to have like a lot more grace for ourselves.
Amen. Where can people find you right now?
If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at PhotoMeLatasha, which is just photo, PHOTOME, Latasha, LATASHA. And if you want to find me based on my achievements, you can find us at our business, which is IkeandTosh.com. Yes.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I know it can be difficult sometimes to relive stuff like that, but I think that being that it really was a gift for you, I mean, I can see it on your face. You know, I wish that people could see your face, because it's all over you when it comes out that this ended up being a really good thing for you. I feel like our stories are meant for sharing. I don't think that the things that happen to us are always for us to like keep to ourselves. Oh yeah. Okay. You know? And so I love telling this story because I know that so I always ask myself, why didn't you get on that airplane? Because we had already been paid. Right. I don't not show up to things like that is not me. I'm showing up. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to bring, like, I cannot for the life of me figure out what made me say, like, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm not getting on the airplane. That is not who I am. It's out of my character. And the only thing that I can like kind of arrive to is that I had heard someone's story about my friend. Actually, she's like 27. I met her through the work that I've done with the American Heart Association. Ike and I were shooting for the American Heart Association before I had a heart story. Yeah, for years. And I never resonated with the mission. I never got it. It didn't make sense to me. But I had heard a bunch of stories. And so I heard the story of this lady who was at work at Boeing and she like had a heart attack. Yeah. And then I had heard a story of a 27-year-old girl who was running the Boston Marathon who had a stroke. And the only reason these women had made it is because they had heard other people's stories and they knew the signs. And so I think like in that moment, I knew enough from other stories to know you're not getting on an airplane. And my doctors told me that had I gotten on the airplane, I would not have made it. You might not have, right? I know, might not have. I would not have, because I was in cardiac. I was like in, not cardiac arrest, but I was having a cardiac episode. And I would have been so high up in the air, my heart would not have been able to handle it. Of course. And then I would have been on the plane for 5 hours. I would have died. Like there's no way around it. And so I think it's so important to share our stories, because maybe someone's not going to have a heart story, or maybe something I say today will trigger you to go, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Like I remember when Tash, when I heard that podcast, she said like, let's da-da-da-da-da or whatever. And so that's why it's important to share these stories, because people tuck them away and they pull them out when it's important. And that's why I always want to talk about it, because I think that it's life-changing. It will be life-changing for someone. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for having me. You did a great job. Thank you. I appreciate your time. You got a lot going on today now. Yeah, now I got to go teach. Yep. We're at Push Conference 2018, and Tash is speaking here in a couple hours probably. Yeah. I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's amazing. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Thanks.